Hi, this is Frode and welcome back to Actualize Notes TV. Today we have another awesome book, A Guide to the Good Life by William B. Irvine. A Guide to the Good Life, the Ancient Art of Stoic Joy. William B. Irvine has done a really good job of distilling the best wisdom from the ancient Stoics. We got more into the origin story of Stoicism in our first big idea, and he wrote it with this question in mind. If the ancient Stoics had set upon themselves the task to make a manual for how to go about living a good life for us who are living in the 21st century, what would that look like? And this book is the answer to that question. And Stoicism, we had done a lot on that. I'm really into that at the time. We had done notes on, you can check out our videos on Epictetus' Enchiridion plus Discourses, his teacher Musonius Rufus, Lecture in Sensations by Musonius Rufus, Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, and Seneca's On the Shortness of Life, Letters from a Stoic, and Moral Letters to Lucilius, plus one from a modern Stoic, Ryan Holiday's The Daily Stoic. For now, if you're feeling it, let's go into the first big idea. Stoicism. William shares a really epic origin story of Stoicism. It all started out with Zeno, the guy who was in a shipwreck. So he was shipwrecked at Athens, and then he got into a bookstore there and asked, where can I find a wise person? And then the bookseller pointed to Crates the Cynic, who, and he said, follow yonder man. And that way Zeno became the pupil, student of Crates the Cynic. And from there on he eventually started his own school, which was where people were called Zenonians, after his name, but because it taught at the Stoa Poikile, a colonnade, it became more fitting with the name Stoic. And by the way, his teacher Crates the Cynic, all the Cynics had a tendency to go around teaching people how they should be going about living their lives, how to live a good life, even though they didn't want to be taught that. And Crates was so brutal that he actually went to people's house, opened their doors, and started teaching them how to live. And because of that, he became known as the door opener. Just imagine that. You're sitting there eating dinner with your family, and suddenly Crates comes opening the door, and you're all terrified. The door opener has come! And he's come to teach us how to live. How fitting. Would love to have him come into my house. So that's the origin story of Stoicism. For more practical ideas, desire. William teaches us that a lot of people have talked about the subject of desire through the ages. And they all pretty much come down to the same thing. We all have a tendency to really desire something like a house, a boat, a car, a relationship with someone, a food. And then eventually when we have gotten that thing, we start taking it for granted. And therefore we decrease our enjoyment of life in general. Because really when you take everything for granted, there isn't anything to enjoy in life. And the antidote to this is something researchers call... Now, and this tendency to get used to and adapt to the things we have is hedonic adaptation. We take everything for granted. And the scientific term for the antidote is negative visualization. I like it drawing an I with a minus in it. Negative visualization. It basically goes like this. Try it out right now. It's a really useful exercise that the Stoics also used. Think about something that you have. A car, your house, so your iPhone or your phone, or a relationship you have with someone. Next up, imagine that that thing or person is gone. Either dead or just doesn't exist. It's not so comfortable. But then you imagine that it's back again and you deliberately say that you appreciate having that thing. And in that way, you will eventually become more appreciative of all the things that you have in your life. I mean, consistently do it. And you can take it to the step that you do it with your own life. Imagine that you are not alive. And then be grateful for being alive. I do this every single morning. When the alarm clock goes off, I immediately get up, because I don't want to press the snooze button. That wastes a lot of time and tells my mind that I don't really want to get up to have another day. So I immediately get up and I open the curtains, look up in the sky and say, I am so grateful for having been given another day in the life of Frode Osen. Because I am. Really? That's the easiest way of being grateful. Being grateful for I didn't die tonight. So, that's just a tip. Negative visualization. Imagine that what you have is gone. Then appreciate having it. Next big idea, control. So, the beginning sentence of Epictetus's Enchiridion is, some things are in our power and others are not. In other words, we control some things and other things we can't control. What we control is our actions. What we can't control is everything that happens around us. The weather, people's opinions, what they say and do, and so on. But William expands this. Instead of having a dichotomy of control, with some things are up to us, others are not, he creates a trichotomy. Some things are within our control, 100%. Others are not within our control at all. And some things are, to some extent, or partially within our control. So, what's within our control? Our actions, what we choose to do. What's not within our control? What happens? Whether the sun rises tomorrow or whether it rains. What's to a certain extent within our control? Whether we win a tennis match. Because we can practice and show up consistently to do the exercise we need to do to increase our chances of winning. We don't have complete control over it, but we have some control. And the reason for all of this is really not to get all anxious about the things we can't control. Because haven't you been trying to control what another person does, what weather it is, and things like that? And then discovered that you literally can't control those things, that only harms yourself. So what we want to do is get really clear in every situation, what's within my control, what is not, and then get really good at doing what's in our control to the best of our ability. For example, let's say that I really wanted it to be a good weather today, because I was going to go for a walk. And it was and I came out and it was just pouring. Now I could get annoyed by that, which I can't control, or I can simply wear an umbrella. Then I can go out anyway and have my walk. So that was a really mundane example. How can you use control, can't control, to some extent within your control? Our next big idea, philosophy. William makes it really clear that many people don't want to pursue philosophy, the knowledge of how to live, because they think it will take them a lot of effort. But to this, he says that the Stoics would probably answer, it would take you a lot more effort not to study philosophy than to actually study it. Again, philosophy is knowledge of how to live. So, and that's because if you don't study philosophy, you won't be able to distinguish between what goals are worthy of attaining, and you won't know what strategies are good for achieving them. So the worst consequence of not having a philosophy, or at all not knowing how to live, or wanting to know how to live, is that you might have the right goals, but pursue them in the wrong manner, taking you a lot more time and effort than you need. Or you might have the wrong goals, and perfectly pursue them, creating massive destruction in your life. So what philosophy helps us do is to create the right goals and the right strategies. It helps you distinguish between what is good and what is bad. And some really simple examples of how you can study philosophy is study personal development. Read books about personal development, how you can become a better person, and listen to inspirational and instructive audio tapes, and be really interested in learning what you can apply. I always say to myself before I start reading or listening to audio, my intention is to actualize my life and see what I can use. Then I try the things I learn. If it works well, I continue. If not, I throw it away. And that's how you go about philosophy. So, how can you start reading more, make it a daily habit, or listening to audio tapes while you're taking a walk, going to work, and so on. And our last big idea is challenges plus self. First part of the idea. Willink says that he is a collector of butterflies. I like to call him a professional collector of butterflies. Because when a challenge confronts you, you get these, you might have a presentation, you're going to go for a jog or a workout, you start having these butterflies, and it doesn't feel very comfortable. Then, you want to crawl back into your corner and not really do those things. But he instead have deliberately the he puts his what's the word I'm trying to find? He puts himself in situations where he will feel those butterflies, because that's making him stronger. And so he's a professional collector of butterflies, and he gave a name for these butterflies. Can be the other self. The other self. This self is kind of like your enemy. It's the weak person. It's the weak part of you that wants immediate gratification, pleasures, and not do anything hard. He says that we gotta make our goal to squeeze this other self out of its nasty little comfort zone. He doesn't use those words, but I like the image. Just push out that weaker part of you out of its comfort zone, and it will become stronger. So, how are some ways that you can do this? I like doing this by taking cold showers, 30 seconds each time. Now, get clear on how you can challenge yourself in more, become a collector of butterflies, squeeze your other self out of its nasty little comfort zone. How can you pursue philosophy in order to become, know what are the right goals and right strategies to achieve them? What's within your control? What is not? What is partially within your control? Get that clear in every situation. Desire. Using negative visualizations to counteract the effect of hedonic adaptation, getting used to and taking everything for granted. And Stoicism. A shipwreck of Zeno, followed Crates the Cynic, who is a door opener. That's a quick meandering look at A Guide to the Good Life by William B. Irvine. Thank you very much. Highly enjoyed it, and I really encourage you to read the book yourself, especially if you're into Stoicism. For now, what's the one idea that most resonated with you, that inspired you to take some action? How about trying it out in your life with philosophy and seeing if you want to continue or not? That's the first step you can take. This is Frode signing off. I'm looking forward to share more wisdom with you soon. Thanks for watching. Have another awesome day. See ya.